Yeah, I'm not seeing any hands up. I think at the end, Kunal reiterated some of the key takeaways that he had noted, and then which were having a strategy, a longer term strategy around food coordination in the city and the food systems, coordination plus community, and innovative approaches. And they did talk about like streamlining, and of course they did mention the also the budget, situation is also challenging within that context. So yeah, I'm not sure if there's any will be any documentation of that meeting that will be available, but Jade said she'd be happy to share some of the notes from the meeting, so if anyone's interested. Um, but it was a great opportunity for community to talk directly to the mayor. Thank you. We are at quorum now. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Welcome everyone who has arrived. All right, the second convening happened. This was a different group, but again, this was the some funders, the Third Plateau, Hellman Foundation, and San Francisco Human Services Agency. Similar-ish content, but a little bit different. Some talking about the anticipated impacts of HR1. There's some breakout groups. Mary Lori did arrive and do about a 2-minute hello and did a few words. And then there was really groups activities around roadblocks to food security, focusing efforts. And there will be some follow-up from this meeting around getting all this information together. Um, it was again a full day of lots of representations from community-based organizations, from community, from government, philanthropy together for this event. Did anyone who attended that uh, convening want to have share out? I know Preeti was there. Who else was there?
Yeah, it was really nice, just to kind of brainstorm together in terms of what food systems look like and the priorities and kind of as a larger community and city how we work on those priorities because there are yeah, just in the times that are changing. So it was really nice to be able to hear from other partners and just work in different groups and teams and navigate these very challenging times.
Right. Noriko.
Yeah, I thought the facilitation by Third Plateau was great, especially the exercise in which we all individually put priorities on a card, but then came together in a small group and kind of laid them out in a chart based on the group's ranking of what those priorities are. And it was nice to see everyone's chart because there seemed to have been some alignment and common interest on how to address the issue, especially with um, HR1 and all the provisions being rolled out this year. So it was nice to see alignment amongst the group.
Right. Anyone else want to share on that?
I would just add another place that I noticed alignment between multiple groups was around having that shared vision for a food just future for San Francisco. I know that came up and was something that my group worked on, but I also saw as we were doing the gallery walk that other groups were thinking about that too. And so I think it was nice to see that people were uplifting that and that it's complementary to the advocacy that we're doing around reimagining the food security task force as well. So I thought that was great to see.
Super. Anyone else want to add anything? Laura was there. Mei Ling's driving around, so I don't think she's able to but she's listening in.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the common theme coming up at all of the tables was that there needs to be better communication and coordination between city departments who address food security and um, between CBOs. So,
Great. I just want to highlight the beginning part of the day and the HSA providing the high level overview of HR1 impacts. And I'm hoping that we can have a consolidated report out for this group on particularly around their report for the CalFresh ABODs, right? Able-bodied folks and the changes. And again, they're wrestling with getting all the information they need from the state and from feds around what's actually happening. But they were some big takeaways from that are that they're looking at about a 21,000 CalFresh recipients are potentially at risk out of the 53,000 that are considered ABODs, and that's out of the entire population of CalFresh, which is about 118,000. So of the 118,000, 53,000 are ABODs, and about 21,000 they're looking at would potentially be at risk given the changes in the regulations from the federal level. This would start June 1st, and it's a rolling, so it's not an automatic, everyone rolls off. It's as you get reinstated for your CalFresh. So it's a gradual rollout when folks renew. This is about for the 21,000 folks at risk, it's about 6 million a month potential loss, again, for participants and for retailers that in historically underserved neighborhoods that also might benefit from that economic stimulus. And there was also a presentation on the anticipated Medicaid cuts. So I won't go into great detail about that because it's a bit complicated, but we're getting a little bit better sense of the challenges, and they went through very clear and detailed information around what the changes are. So we'll be able to ask them to bring this back to the group. We like to highlight these convenings because I think they're, again, some people mentioned alignment, it's good to know the communication and advocacy that's coming in to the to the mayor's office and what the community is addressing and the priorities of the community. So happy to share. Again, we're hoping to share more of the outcomes of these convenings when we get more information available. Sound good? Anything else before I open up for public comment on that topic from Food Security Task Force, and I'll open it up. Okay, let's go ahead and open it up then for public comment on the convenings. Anyone else that was there that wanted to share or had questions?
Omar dropped a question in the chat in the second meeting that we're talking about. What were some of the priorities that different groups had to rank or consider?
I think there were a lot of them. So does anyone in the group want to answer? But I think I can mention some things from my particular group that I remember, but
I can mention a couple from my group. So one was around quality data to inform decisions on how to build the food systems, and then others were actual planning of this food system with community input and data. And I can't remember the rest, but those were at least two that I remember.
Yeah, I was typing out a response. I was saying that each table came up with their own list of roadblocks, and priorities. So it wasn't like we were starting off with a list. But I feel like the ones that I saw consistently come up across the groups were about like affordability, long-term planning, political will, um,
Silos,
Funding capacity, silos, yeah.
racism,
Fascism, racism, yeah.
affordability, big one, yeah.
Yeah, affordability was a big one.
So I think it was some sense of that. Great. And then there was some breakout about taking one of those and what can we do about it? And sort of tangible, like what can nonprofits do? What can philanthropy do? What can government do? So hopefully we can share some of that information at some point. Great. All right. Thank you so much. I know Serena's also here. I don't know, Serena, if you wanted to say anything about that or.
Yeah, I will be sending out hopefully a summary of what was worked on, including photos. We're not spending a whole lot of time transcribing everything, partly because some of it was not legible. But we will be sending out a summary. It is for everyone that is there. Feel free to share it out with the rest of the community. This is just meant for everyone. So hopefully there can be some momentum tapped into, especially the solutions part of it, where a lot of groups just started talking about what each of the sectors can do, and the sectors were represented there. So there's ownership and accountability. And just like what some people shared, there were consistent themes that popped up. And the themes are, systemic inequities, lack of coordination, and resource constraints. So that'll be reflected in the summary that gets shared out. But thank you for everyone that came and participated. I know it was an invite-only session, but hopefully there are more of these in the future and there can be more participation.
Great. Thank you so much, Serena. And for those of you who don't know Serena, she's with Third Plateau, which is one of the funding philanthropy agencies that was supporting this convening. Great. Okay. Thank you all. So it sounds like there'll be some next steps coming from that. Thank you. Okay, let's any other public comment before we move on to the next item, which is actually we're going to go backwards a little bit. I am not seeing any hands up and no notes in the chat. We are going to go backwards a little bit because we did skip the approval of minutes because we did not have quorum. So can we go back to that, please? Okay, great. Again, these minutes were already posted on the website and folks received them in advance. So we'll do a quick run through. And if anyone has any changes, that was quick. Thank you. Any changes, additions, edits to the minutes? They're looking good. I'm not seeing any hands or any comments. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as they are?
I'll motion to approve them.
Great. Tiffany has motioned to approve minutes as they are. Do I have a second?
I can second.
Great. Laura has second. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
I'm not able to raise my hand, Mrs. Mailing. I vote aye.
Great. Thank you.
I have 11.
Great. Thank you. Okay, you guys can lower your hands, please. Thank you. And any folks abstaining? I am seeing 0 hands up for abstentions. Great. Any nays? I am seeing 0 hands up for nays. So the minutes have passed as they are. Thank you so much, and thank you guys for taking such good minutes. Any public comment on the approval of minutes from December 3rd? Okay, I am not seeing any notes in the chat nor hands up, so we'll go ahead and move on. Thank you all for that. We are moving on to item number 7. This is a Food Security Task Force 2026 annual recommendations. So as we know, we always do. The Food Security Task Force has done annual recommendations for ever, probably for the 20 years, 20 some years that the task force has been operating. We have some recommendations for the recommendations. If we could, first of all, we want to bring up last year's recommendations that we can take a look at, P. These are on the Food Security Task Force website, the 2025 recommendations. We are going to talk in more detail about this in our next meeting, which is the February 4th meeting. That is our regular Wednesday meeting in February. The idea is to again simplify the recommendations. The thought is there isn't a lot of significant change in the way they're presented. And again, this is just our recommendation. So I want to open this up again for Food Security Task Force feedback, and then we'll open up for feedback from the public. Do you want to actually, P, do you want to actually show that? Yeah, great. Again, this is also in the chat for folks that want to see. There's 2 parts to the recommendations we do. This is the actual PDF of the recommendations. Can you go back to the beginning, the first page? Great. So, and we also do an accompanying PowerPoint that we would present to the Board of Supervisors and other key stakeholders, including folks from the mayor's office. So this is again, we just do a slightly different look and feel, but use the same graphic designer that we've used for a while. What we would change is the current landscape. We would do is highlight a number of key bits of current data, and that might be things like updating the self-sufficiency standard. What is the updated food insecurity rate in San Francisco? Some other key information that we may have. What we don't have is in October, we were going to have the next biannual food security task force, or the food assessment, biannual food security assessment, right? That has been put on hold. We haven't heard yet from DPH what the timeline is on that, but that is on hold for now. It will be happening at some point, but we just don't know exactly when. So we will just then use some key highlight information, key data that we have around food security and the landscape. Going down. Keep on going. So this would be a little different content here. What we do want to spend a little bit more time on in the report is key threats and opportunities and successes. These are usually, we have key threats really highlighting the CalFresh federal changes. We obviously have some big issues if there's another government shutdown and SNAP, mitigating some of these potential impacts on folks, Medicaid, and other threats that we're seeing. again, looking at opportunities, and we would do this where we get the content for this is in our next meeting. We're asking folks to bring with it like key threats, key opportunities, and key successes from this last year. Then the recommendations, again, there might be a new recommendation that comes from when we look at the key threats and opportunities and successes. But we are hoping that from a lot of the conversations within the Food Security Task Force over the year, from feedback from presentations and from what the key piece that the Food Security Task Force is doing, which is this number one, advocating for this Office of Food Security and a strong community advisory board. But also we would add as a separate item a longer term strategic plan around the food system and food justice and food security. Not to combine all those together, but to look at a longer term strategy. And then the Food Coordination Office, and then some piece about proactively addressing the threats. And then we would then kind of wrap up with the adequate resources. And then we can, if there's any other major recommendations that come up from the threats and opportunities, successes. Again, we're still, we still feel strongly about these recommendations and not sure that we've actually gotten that far in 1 year. So it's like we kind of want to say the same thing again in a way, but if there's any other newer priority, we may bring that one up. That's the current just draft recommendation of what we propose. So I want to open that up to the food. First of all, does everyone understand what we'd be doing? Is that pretty clear? We're really just tweaking a little bit the recommendations and maybe focusing a little bit on the threats and but maintaining a lot of the same structure and content. Okay, and then how do we feel about that? Yay, nay? Want to hear the feedback from folks. Anything missing too? Again, we'll get into some more detail next time around the key threats and opportunities and successes, but anyone want to speak up? Please do. Okay, I'm getting thumbs up from Katie. Anne.
Hi all. I think it looks great. I think the report will be effective, and I think it'll be great to get it out. And I think it'll good to have the San Francisco information in there. One thought, and I don't know if it would what you think of including it is, given the kind of new mayor's office, and is it worth including any quotes from them or asking them if they've seen anything, or I don't know. I was thinking of department heads, but I think that's really included in our body, right? Is hearing of those. Anyhow, it was just a thought to see if we would want to include anything from the mayor's office.
Great. Love it. Other thoughts, comments? Anyone who doesn't like this idea? I'd love to hear it all.
Okay, one more thought. As far as I do think the kind of the food security survey is still being done at some of our healthcare institutions, and I don't know if it's possible to include any data from that.
Yeah, actually, I don't know. It's a great question for P and Eric. We can take a look. We can take a look in terms of that if there's any new key data from that.
Yeah, I think we can take a look. And then to respond to Reagan's question,
Oops.
only local um, data point that we're using is the California Health Interview Survey.
Although that's not, is that, yeah, there's, yeah, CHIS, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, one of the challenges we're going to talk about is that they're no longer tracking food security on the federal level or cost of food or anything else. Okay. Great. I'm going to open it up to public comment. Any public comment on this topic, the 2026 recommendations? Omar.
Hi, this is my first time joining the Food Security Task General meetings. Just wanted to introduce myself real fast and bring something that I find interesting. I haven't gone through the report, but I was wondering, does it include or would it be able to include under the opportunity section maybe data regarding um, how different programs in the city of SF are distributed racially, by gender, even by sexuality, all of these isms in different parts of SF. I know, for example, with the emergency gift cards, there was specific areas where people either were not able to or didn't have the ability to register their cards. And so I think if we're looking at this from a data perspective, that might be interesting to highlight too, how some of these strengths, opportunities, and weaknesses that we talk about look in different communities in the mission, in yeah, wherever you want to point to.
Great. Thank you, Omar. Yeah, I know there was a lot of attention to that on the biannual data report. But yeah, thank you for that. Any other comments? Okay, so next meeting, be prepared to share some of these key threats, key opportunities, successes, and we'll start working away in the background. Eric will start working on some of those data points so that we get the document ready. When are we shooting to get this done by, P? When did we have it last year? I don't remember exactly.
Believe the whole thing was a 3-month process, so we had it ready by late March, early April.
Okay. I know, and every year we're like trying to get it a little earlier because of the budget season, but let's see what we can do. See if we can get a good start on it and then get our some of these opportunities and threats from the meeting in 2 weeks integrated in there. All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it. All right, I'm gonna wrap this topic up. I'm not seeing any more public comment on this topic, so we're moving ahead on the this year's 2026 recommendations. Status of the food security, moving on to item number 8, which is the status of the food security task force and next steps. Okay, so we talked about this last meeting. We're going to review this again, and this is very important for everyone, actually, task force members in particular. So right now, there are a number of things, three separate things happening. One is the Food Security Task Force, as we are currently set up, is scheduled to sunset on July 1st of 2026. If nothing happens, then the group would sunset. Would happen for it to extend is a supervisor would or a group of supervisors would file an ordinance to extend or reauthorize the Food Security Task Force for a certain number of years. Doing that, generally you make a few changes to the structure because it makes it more difficult to get through the ordinance process. So it's because we try to extend it for a short amount of time, because what we really want to do is really sunset the Food Security Task Force when there is a centralized food coordination structure in place in San Francisco with a strong community advisory board. So we have been doing advocacy efforts, talking to boards of supervisors and their aides and staffs. And we do have interest in a supervisor proposing a potential ordinance around the centralized food coordination. A group of Food Security Task Force members is working on some draft of just a kind of a generalized draft of what that would look like for the supervisor. Again, I will tell the supervisor's name once we get permission from that supervisor and the full commitment to do that. Also, there might be some interest from other parties, such as mayor's office. We don't know at this. There has been greater discussion, as we mentioned before, in these convenings around the centralized food coordination. So it seems to be an idea that is taking hold from a lot of different constituents and areas and sectors. So more to come there. In the meantime, this group, which I thank you so much for, folks. This is groups from the food bank. We have Beth on there, Katie from Project Open Hand. We have P, Eric, and Jade from FACS, and all helping out with that. If anyone is interested in helping, please let P or Eric know. We're happy to invite you the next. Laura, are you in that too? Did I miss you? No. Okay. And then the next meeting is next week. Is that right, P? Yeah. Okay. And we're drilling down on that. The next steps would be to bring this back to the group to chat about. I think the most interesting part of the conversation is probably around the what that advocacy group looks like. We are going to be using the template that the Task Force on Commissions has recommended. That's the group that is went through and recommended task force. So, and they have a generalized structure. The only big difference between that and the advisory group is it just has things like dates that you, what's the word when you term off? Turn the seat over. Like you can term off after certain, after 3 years or 12 years or something, right? So there's certain requirements about that. So this group, once we get it a little bit closer together, we'll bring some recommendations and some to the group, and then we can make a stronger recommendation as a group. Term limits, yeah, thank you, to move the generalized recommendation forward. Again, we are looking at a couple things. We want this advisory group to have more teeth. So we'll be looking at some content around the language and some other bodies that have structures that their advisory boards have a good amount of authority or accountability. Okay, the third part in this is the big question is, could this happen before the Food Security Task Force sunsets? Like, what's going to come first? In the meantime, this Committee on Committees did recommend that the Food Security Task Force be eliminated. That they are not presenting their results. They don't present till February. That has to go through the Board of Supervisors, and then it has to go to November for a vote from the public. So it's that process of that is going to take a while. So I'm thinking we're really focused more on whether to reauthorize the task force for short term, or will we be able to get this centralized food coordination and advocacy board up and working before we sunset. We have had a number of supervisors willing to reauthorize the task force. So, okay. So that's the landscape. That's where we're on. We're getting close. Months are starting to decline a little bit. So as we get a little bit closer in February, and we'll need to suss out what we think might happen so that we have a plan. Whether we, again, what we're going to do in the short and long run. Whew, sorry, it was a big mouthful. Any questions, comments on that? Any recommendations, any thoughts? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. Sorry to be repetitive for those that have already heard this, but just want to make sure everyone's on the same, we're getting the same information out to everyone. Okay, I'm not seeing any comments, any public comment on this topic. Status of Food Security Task Force and next steps. Okay. Great, thank you so much. We're moving on then to our next item, in-person Food Security Task Force meeting discussion. This is going to be a short discussion. Basically, I am recommending that we have an in-person meeting. We have the challenge that's really great to meet in person. The challenge is that it's harder oftentimes for a community to attend the meeting and be able to attend on Zoom or phone. So we are looking, it would be ideal to have a place that it can also be zoomed in. And so I want to bring this up for the task force there and see if anyone has any recommendations for locations. I'm working out of UCSF here at San Francisco General Hospital in the Mission. And we can probably get a big enough meeting room that might have Zoom capacity. Thoughts?
I like the idea.
Great, thank you.
How big of a meeting room does it need to be?
There's technically 20 food security and then 22 and then some public. So P, what do we think we need? 25?
Yeah, if we're including
26 there's on this
task force
call.
members.
Yeah.
But it can range anywhere from what we have now, 25 to, I think max we've seen aside from the November call was maybe 50.
Anne, did you have?
Oh, I think it sounds great to meet in person. I'm happy to go wherever. I didn't know central wise. I didn't know if DPH or if there's a city room we could use. Maybe even kind of at the Bank of America building. I don't know. I think it's where MOHCD is. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like the one in person I went to was at 25 Van Ness. There was a room that we used there it was like a data analysis special meeting a couple years ago.
Yeah, we used to meet there. The only problem with that is it just doesn't have a Zoom thing, but that I'm aware of, unless it's changed. But we can certainly do that. Well, I
It
don't know.
hasn't.
Check it out.
Yeah, it doesn't have internet.
Beth, I can book rooms at 1 South Van Ness. Is that right at Market?
Sorry. I feel like this is where it was way back when, before the pandemic.
Permit office, the permit center downstairs.
What do you think? Muni accessible? Central? I think that sounds great. How does everyone else feel about that? Looking good. Okay. So do you guys want February or do you want to do March?
Better check with Beth about the room availability.
Oh, and that. We're just gonna just storm in. I have one vote for Feb. May need advance notice. I'll see what I can get right now. Okay, great. Let's look at either February or March, depending on what Beth can do. I think it'd be great to meet in person. I miss meeting in person. I think we can get and if we're moving structure or not meeting after July, we won't have as much opportunity. So okay, great. So people let folks know once if Beth can't find out now. All right, let's open this up to any more comments on this before I move it on to public comment on this, on meeting in person.
And this is Mei Ling. I'll just throw out there too that if One South Van Ness doesn't work and one of the Rec and Park facilities might, I would be happy to help make that connection as well, though I don't know about IT and all of those spaces.
Great, thank you.
And we also have some space at POH that might work as well. So options, and it would have IT capability.
Great. Thank you. Cool. Okay, thank you guys. Any other comments? Questions? Again, it's a public meeting, so all people are invited. But it's great to have Zoom too for those that can't attend. Okay, great. Thank you all for that. I'm seeing no other public comment, nothing in the oh, official name 49 Venice. Okay, nothing in the chat. Great, thank you. Okay, we're moving on to updates and emerging issues. Time to update on what's happening. Anything happen out there we need to know about?
Just curious if anyone was able to go to the DPH community meeting yesterday and if anyone saw their memo that they sent out prior to that meeting about the 17 mil cuts. Food wasn't on there. I thought the list was pretty interesting. Don't know if anyone else has any takeaways.
Jade, did that email come in today?
I think it was last week, wasn't it?
Last week?
Yeah, I could link the memo in the chat.
Yeah, it didn't seem like there was any food. I was sad about Sunday streets. I'm going to go to the meeting tomorrow morning. I didn't go yesterday.
I'm planning to go tomorrow also.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, every meeting that DPH has starts with their cuts and the rough year it's going to be.
I'll just jump in. I think I think mainly what I'm seeing, and I think we're seeing it throughout the memos, is kind of this concept of what discretionary, right? There's going to be cut to discretionary programs, and trying to understand what that really list entails. As we know, we have essential services, and certainly I do believe food is included in that. But I think most of our clients are certainly and participants in community are accessing what we're going to call discretionary programming. So I think it is critical for us to kind of find out what's there and potentially do some advocacy around that.
Jade, what did you say the meeting? Which meeting was this?
DPH's community meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been holding them like every once a month almost about. The first one was for this month was yesterday, last night, and then they have a second one tomorrow morning. Do you want the info on the meeting times, Katie? I can send you the registration link.
In the chat, if you can, that'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I agree with you too, and like the way they use discretionary is concerning. And while this initial 17 mil cut doesn't have any food programs listed, I don't know if anyone's hearing like there could potentially just be more cuts in June too. So definitely something to continue to harp on and monitor.
Thank you. Yeah. Other updates, emerging issues. Do we have the updated budget calendar? I know the departments are supposed to have their budgets in, right? We'll try to share this for next meeting. We'll try to dig up the I haven't seen this budget calendar this year, but it's pretty much, I think, the same as last. Other updates, announcements.
It's not really an announcement, but I'm wondering if anyone caught the three themes that Serena mentioned. I was gonna drop the question in the chat to ask her, but I think she left already. From like the Food Futures convening, she said that she heard systemic inequities, resource constraints, and then the third one
Was it historical inequities?
yeah, she said systemic inequities, resource constraints, and then I couldn't remember what the third one was.
Or it was not coordination.
I think it was
Was
coordination.
it coordination? Yeah, okay,
Pretty
cool.
sure it's
I was like
coordination.
department coordination.
All right. Cool, thank you.
Okay. Thank you all for this. We are going to wrap up early. I knew it was going to be an early meeting, but this is even better. Thank you so much for all the work that's being done outside of these meetings and keeping the focus on the folks that were impacted by these services and cuts and all this crazy food costs, and keep us going. So thank you all for being here. Thanks for all the work being done, and more to come in 2 weeks. Don't forget to think about those threats, opportunities, and successes, and we'll continue in 2 weeks, maybe in person. Great to see everyone. Thank you so much.